A very good evening to you. Welcome to the West Ham Weekly on the West Ham Voice on a Monday night. I hope you're all doing well. There's plenty to talk about, not just the game, but some of the stuff that came out in the FAB, the Fab Advise, uh, the I've forgotten the words, haven't I? Those who meet with the club on a regular basis, the fan base that meet with the club on a regular basis. I was reading through the minutes that came out last week. The meeting happened some weeks ago, and then I was reading through the minutes, and something popped up that I thought, that's interesting. A director of football at West Ham. Apparently, there are plans to get one. I'll talk about that later on and the impact that could have. But also talk about the highs and lows of supporting West Ham United. On Saturday night, we were celebrating getting out of the excuse me, getting out of the bottom three for the first time since December, only to have those celebrations dampened somewhat by Liverpool and Fulham being unable to get the positive results that we were yearning for against Spurs and Nottingham Forest. When you look at the Liverpool team that played against us and got 5 past us, and we walked away going, that wasn't a 5-2 game. You know, it didn't feel like they were all over us, and yet they scored 5 against us. And then you look at the way they played against Spurs on Sunday, and you think, good grief, how on earth did that happen to us? And then you look at Nottingham Forest and Fulham being fairly decent away from home, and yet they couldn't seem to muster not a shot on target. There you go. But that's okay. We shouldn't expect any other team to be doing us any favours, to be quite honest with you. If we're going to avoid relegation, then it's down to us and our performances alone and our results. You know, the rest can look after itself. I still maintain that we've got the momentum from all the teams down at the bottom. And we'll look a little deeper into how the next round of fixtures in the Premier League might unfold before we go into the international break. So I've got the FAB meeting to discuss. We've got the game to discuss, and we've got apparently Daniel Kretinsky. Yet another report coming out that Daniel Kretinsky is ready to take over West Ham United. How many times have we heard this? But before I do all that, if you're new to this channel, first time you've watched the channel, or if you've watched before but yet to become a subscriber, you can do so by clicking on the QR code that's appeared in the top corner there. Do become a subscriber, free of charge to do so. But let's start off with the news that apparently Crysencio Summerville is about to return to West Ham United team this coming weekend for the game against Aston Villa. Now, I don't know. I don't know if this news has been corroborated or not, but one or two people are running with the story and suggesting that Summerville's injury is not as bad and he'll only have missed that one game against Man City. Now, that would be a massive boost for us, wouldn't it? But to make way for his return, one of our fantastic 3 centre-backs is going to have to sit on the bench. So who would you drop? You know, which of the 3 players, centre-backs, would you actually put on the bench in order to replace, to get Summerville back in the team? It's a difficult one, isn't it? Right, before I get onto all the really serious stuff, let's do a quick roundup of all the other West Ham news, shall we? The West Ham women's team, well, they returned to action this week after a brief break. I think it was international break. And they returned to team action on Wednesday with a tricky home game against Man United, who is second in the Women's Super League. We currently sit second from bottom with just 2 points ahead of Leicester, who are rock bottom. A point would be most welcome against Man United, but a defeat could leave us very vulnerable because Leicester then host Aston Villa, who are only a few places above us this coming weekend. A West Ham defeat with a Leicester win could see us go bottom of the table. So good luck to the ladies' team this coming Wednesday. The Academy. Well, the Academy, mixed emotions again with them. The under-18s were held to a draw away to Fulham at the weekend. Now, we thought that we'd won the game because we got our goal late on in the game, 83rd minute, Chuck Obi scoring the goal. But 3 minutes from time, Fulham equalised and to make it 1-1. The result has seen us dropped to 7th in the league in the under-18s Premier League. However, we've got 2 games in hand over a number of teams above us. we win those 2 games in hand, and we could go as high as 3rd place. So good luck to the under-18s. Next game for them is on Tuesday, tomorrow, away to Aston Villa, who sit 1 place below us. So that's one of the 2 games in hand that we're going to be playing soon. Win that, and we go to 4th. Win the other extra game that we've got, and we go to 3rd. Right, the under-21s. They fell to their first home defeat of the season in Premier League 2. Losing at home to Reading, where they won 2-1. The result leaves West Ham in 9th with two games to go in this round of the league. The top 16 sides will progress to playoffs, whilst if you finish in the top 8, and we're just below that at the moment, but if you finish in the top 8, it guarantees you a home advantage for the knockout stages in the first round. Reading took the lead on the 38th minute with Gabriel Calista getting one back late in the first half. And Reading won the game with a Golombekis deflected own goal. But the league is one thing, but we know what's happening tomorrow night, don't we? Because it's our first cup final for the under-21s. All eyes focus on Tuesday night. We face Boreham Wood at their ground in the National League Cup final. West Ham United were offered 1,250 away tickets, which were made available to West Ham season ticket holders. Over 4,000 season ticket holders applied for those tickets. What an amazing response. Now, I've been lucky enough to acquire one, so I'll be going there tomorrow evening. So look out for the post-match review, and as well as any video clips of any goals that we will score. Now, one player who is going to miss the final is Junior Robinson. The young defender is on loan from West Ham to Boreham Wood, and naturally, he can't play against his parent club. Such a shame. Robinson's only made 6 appearances for Boreham Wood this season, but hasn't been able to feature at all in the National League Cup because he played for West Ham in that competition earlier in the season. Now, I thought for senior teams, you know, if you appear in a particular competition and you move to another club in the transfer window during the same season, you can then play in that competition. But it seems not for the under-21s, which is a bit of a shame, really. Look, we wish the under-21s well. It will be an honour to be there to support the development team. And we really, really hope that they get the win that they fully deserve because they've had a great season so far. Right, what about loan news? Well, a number of players, 7 players of West Ham United are out on loan. First off, Mason Terry. Mason Terry produced a heroic assist as Braintree Town snatched a dramatic 1-1 National League draw at Morecambe on Saturday. Braintree looked set to lose the game going into added time when Morecambe scored an 87th minute penalty. But deep into injury time, Terry went up for a corner and the ball bounced nicely for him. He crossed a beautiful cross into the box and Braintree got a deserved equaliser. Now, Braintree's point means that they sit 22nd in their table, level on points with Morecambe and 2 points behind Brackley Town, just outside the relegation zone. So good luck to Mason Terry. He's having a great season for them. In the Premier League, James Ward-Prowse started and played the full game in Burnley's goalless home draw with Bournemouth. In the Championship, George Earthy was an unused sub for Bristol City's 1-1 draw at Middlesbrough. In League One, Caelan Casey started Leyton Orient's 2-1 home win over Peterborough United. The centre-back played the opening 62 minutes before being replaced. Orient's win now means they sit 19th in the table, 4 points ahead of Blackpool in the final relegation place. In the same division, Michael Forbes started for Northampton Town in a 2-0 home defeat against Burton Albion. Remember them? Forbes played 84 minutes in that game. In Italy, remember him, Nicholas Fulcrook? Well, he was introduced as a 22 minutes remaining in AC Milan's 1-0 defeat against Lazio. The German international was unable to find an equaliser. Defeat means that AC Milan sit 8 points behind leaders, Inter Milan, but they are in second place. Right, there was one other player, well, a couple of other players. Maxwell Cornet, unused sub, as Genoa won 2-0 at home to Verona. The victory means Genoa are 13th in Serie A, if you really care. In Germany, Callum Marshall was introduced as a 64th minute sub for Bochum in the 1-1 draw against Hertha Berlin. Bochum are ninth in the table, 7 points ahead of relegation playoff place. And in Hungary, goalkeeper Christian Hegyi kept a clean sheet for MTK Budapest in a goalless draw against NB leaders Eto FC Győr. A third consecutive draw leaves MTK 3 points above the relegation place. And in Scotland, Junior Robinson was not involved. How could it be Junior Robinson? That's obviously incorrect because I just mentioned Junior Robinson is at loan at Boreham Wood. So that's a load of rubbish. Thank you, West Ham United official channel, for giving me a dud there. Now, victory. Let's go in. Let's talk about the game for a bit, shall we? Because as much as it was an awful lot of pride and an awful lot of joy to watch West Ham United get the deserved draw against Man City at the weekend, it kind of dampened it, didn't it? That we then saw the results in the other games at the weekend not go in our favour. But like I said, we can't rely on other teams to do us a favour. 5 team changes to the team that started against Brentford last Monday in the FA Cup. Mads Hermansen came in for Alphonse Areola. Aaron Wan-Bissaka in for Carl Walker-Peters. Malik Diouf was in for Oli Scarles. Jean-Claire Todibo was in for Mohamedou Kante. And Tati Castellanos started in ahead of Adama Traore. Look, I've talked about the game. I did a post-match review straight after the game on Saturday. I then did a reflection show that came out this morning. I hope you've watched that. So instead of going through the whole game, I just want to focus on 4 specific things from Saturday night. I mean, there are many highlights to talk about, but the following 4, I think, are probably the most prominent. And the first, of course, is all about Dinos Mavropanos. The lineup changed from 4 at the back to 5 at the back, which I kind of predicted. Some fans won't have been happy with going 5 at the back, but given the outcome and given the onslaught given the pressure that we were under, I think it was the right decision, the right tactical change to make. We've got 3 probably of the most informed centre-backs in the league at the moment, and it was a delight to see how fluidly they worked alongside each other. They absorbed a lot of pressure, along with the rest of the team, of course, but they stayed focused, they stayed compact, and it will be a difficult choice for Nuno to make when we revert to a back 4 as to which of the 3 central defenders will drop to the bench. I can't honestly say which one I think should be dropped because I think they've all done exceedingly well. Now, maybe a short while ago, many fans would have suggested that it would have to be Dinos to drop out, leaving Todibo and Disasi in the starting lineup. But that's not such an obvious decision now, given how fantastic Dinos has been this season. He's got to have had one of the best weeks in a West Ham shirt in his career so far. After slamming in the winning penalty in the FA Cup against Brentford on Monday night, the Greece international was immense again in Saturday's 1-1 draw against Man City. Not only did he score his second career Premier League goal with an unstoppable header, which was our only shot on target, his stats in the game were immense as well. 10 clearances, more than anyone else on the night. He made 4 interceptions and 4 shots that he blocked. Was, again, more than any other player on the pitch. And we've all seen one of the shots that block. I don't know if I've got a photo. I didn't put it up, actually. But we've all seen one of the shots where he took it full on in the face from a thunderous shot from Erling Haaland. You've got to be honest. You've got to say Mavropanos is indeed one of the most improved players in the West Ham squad at this moment in time. So do you drop him? It'd be natural to think that it would be him, but it'd be unfair on him as well as any of the other centre-backs. But we'll see what happens this coming weekend if we actually play 4 at the back, and I think we will against Aston Villa. The second highlight I've got to mention is Mads Hermansen. Look, he was chipped by Bernardo Silva. He was off his line. Bit questionable about his positioning, about his height. He couldn't reach it. I know all that. But that aside, the Danish goalkeeper was actually pretty good on Saturday night, making 5 saves, collecting a series of high balls and crosses, sweeping up when required, and distributing the ball with pretty good accuracy. He made a wonderful one-handed stop to keep Haaland's effort out on the hour mark. As City piled on the pressure, he kept our efforts out from the likes of Nuno'S, Cherky, Reiners, O'Reilly. They were peppering the goal. I mean, they only had about 5 or 6 shots on target, but he was at them at all times. So fair play. I've given him stick. I'm an Areola fan. I prefer Areola in goal, but you've got to give credit where credit's due. And in fairness, I think apart from the chip, I think he did decently. Then we move on to Jared Bowen, because another player who fans have been talking about of late, being a bit out of sorts. Bowen recently broke Mikel Antonio's club record for direct goal involvements in the Premier League. He added another assist to his tally by providing the pinpoint corner for Mavropanos to score from. He's now up to a record 44 assists, including 5 in his last 8 Premier League appearances, to go alongside the 2 goals that he scored. So for someone who's not in very good form at the moment, that's not bad, is it really? It's not bad at all when you think about, fans are saying he's off the boil, he's not at it, etc. But then, getting those number of assists in those games isn't bad at all. In total, he has 64 goals, 44 assists for 108 direct league goal involvements in his 230 West Ham appearances, and that's a pretty decent record. Adding the 2 goals in Monday night's FA Cup win over Brentford, and he has now got 9 direct goal involvements in West Ham's last 10 games in all competitions. Not bad for a player out of form. And finally, got to mention the team spirit, because the fantastic effort that the team has been putting in of late is worthy of praise in itself. Now, whilst Dinos made the headlines, this was a defensive masterclass from every member of the West Ham team. Every player played their role in their defense. In the defense, the whole back line played exceptionally well. The midfield were disciplined, despite not seeing an awful lot of the ball throughout the game. And Man City, there we are. There's the stat. Man City had 25 shots, 6 were on target. But we closed the space. We communicated well. We kept in our positions, and we kept them at bay. The shots that they were taking weren't really, of course, if they go in, they go in, but they weren't, because we were doing our defensive duties really well. Further forward, typically hard-working Thomas Souček was immense, making 7 tackles, 7 clearances, 2 interceptions, and winning 3 aerial duels. Had one player not done his job, City's quality would have earned them a win. But instead, every man in claret and blue walked around with like heroes on Saturday night. Right, let's talk about other things, shall we? Because something came up. Before I talk about the FAB meeting, something came up. We hear yet again from another football finance and governance expert, Paul Quinn from the I paper, suggesting that Daniel Kretinsky is biding his time to become major shareholder at West Ham United. I'm not sure what I'm missing here. What's he biding his time for? Because if we go down, his investment goes down with it. So what's he biding his time for? Kretinsky can become the major shareholder tonight if he wants to. All he's got to do is go and buy the Gold family shares that have been around for God knows what, 3 years or so, 2.5 years. Now they own 25% of the club. He owns 27%, and voila, 52% of the club will give him total control of it. But the reality is that the Gold shares he doesn't want. He's been able to buy them for the last 2 years, and he hasn't bothered. Crysencio has shown no sign of wanting to be in charge of the club. So I'm kind of surprised that yet again some pundit is coming out, some expert is coming out suggesting that he's biding his time. I don't know what he's biding his time for. Plus, if he did go down this road, he'd have to seriously consider relinquishing or reducing his holdings at his beloved Sparta Prague, where he's supposed to be investing something like £150 million to build in the largest stadium in the Czech Republic. Now, that story was 2 years ago. He still hasn't put his hand in his pocket. And if you speak to some Sparta Prague fans, they'll tell you Kretinsky doesn't spend an awful lot of money at the club. He's more than he does at West Ham, but He's rich. I mean, he's a billionaire, and it's not like David Sullivan's richness where it's all invested in property. He's actually got fluid funds, Kretinsky, but he doesn't dip his hand in his pocket that often. Look, um, I say this once again. I say this an awful lot of times. Daniel Kretinsky is an investor in West Ham United. He has numerous investments and business interests, Royal Mail, many other companies, and so on. Now, I could be proved wrong, but Kretinsky is not buying out any other shareholder at West Ham United, because if he wanted to, he would have bought the Sullivan shares by now. So, when you start reading more and more stories about that, remember that. Remember that Kretinsky could have bought shares a long, long time ago to make him the majority shareholder. Right, before I get into the FAB and all about a new director of football and how that's going to affect West Ham, let's go into your comments. Good evening to you, Stephen. How are you, mate? Thank you for joining. Good evening to you, Anthony. I hope you're well. Stephen, Summerville, question. Do I think Summerville starts against Villa on Sunday, or Nuno puts Summerville on the bench? If he's fit, he starts. I'm pretty certain of that. Hammerette, good evening to you. I hope you're well. Apache, we are feeding the cats. We are feeding the cats. Well, we were eating chicken and they wanted the chicken. I had to shit. Oh, God, they're greedy. Michael, good evening. I've got Brentford and Derby in a double tonight. Can't believe Derby 5-2. It's only half time, though. They're 5-2. Bloody hell. Toha, good evening, mate. I hope you're well. Harry, good evening, mate. I hope you're well too. Mr. McLaren, good evening. Nice to see you on Saturday, mate, and I'll see you this coming Sunday. Graham, how are you, mate? It's a positive that we played City and didn't lose any ground. Liverpool are crap, but that's a big hurdle out of this way. Absolutely. That's the other good thing about this. You know, we played a Man City side that everyone thought we were going to get nothing against. You know, we were all expecting a drubbing, you know, especially after getting beat by Liverpool, who are nowhere near as good as Man City are. So we just expected an Erling Haaland hat-trick or something like that. It didn't happen. You know, and the fact that we're keeping up we are still level on points with, I believe, with Nottingham Forest, one off with Spurs. You know, that means we've not fallen away. We've not lost ground. So that's really, really good. Mark, good evening to you. I hope you're well. Thank you for joining. Cremonese and Fiorentina 4-1. Good evening, James. How are you? Nice to see you here. Ruroni tensions. Good evening. Come on, you irons. Thanks for joining. Good evening to you, Darren. Good evening to you, Avid Indoorsman. I hope you're all well. Avid. Crete is going to do everything in his power to be back for Villa so he can go on the international duty. Yeah, talked about that last week. He wants and deserves the call-up. Just a shame that it will mean we have to give Leeds 4 mil for it. Is that right? Didn't know that. Frog, good evening to you. I hope you're well too. Good evening, Daniela. It was sloppy defending. That was the reason why we lost 5-2. I don't know if it was sloppy defending, to be quite honest with you. It's more about 3 deflected goals, you know, and how many times do you see 3 deflected goals in one game? Paul, no coincidence that since selling Paqueta and dropping £4 Kilman that we have improved. Fernandes is outstanding, go to the top. Tati and Pablo will get 12, 15 goals if played as a front two. I totally agree, Paul. I think I'm going to throw in Fulkrug in that mix as well. Fulkrug, Kilman, Paqueta, they weren't right for us, you know. And I know Kilman is is on the subs bench, but look what's going on. He's not getting a game. You know, even in the cup, he wasn't getting a game. And I think his time at West Ham is done. He will be sold in the summer. I think quite a few players will be sold in the summer if we go down. But if we stay up, Kilman's not staying at West Ham United. Josh, good evening, mate. I hope you're well. I'm very well. I hope you are too. Went to the game on Saturday. Good atmosphere. It felt like a win. Went to a pub called the Lord Napier. I know it. Yeah, near Hackney Wick. Very nice pub. Good place in Hackney Downs. Would recommend. I know it, mate. It's a lovely little pub. Yeah, full of hipsters in there, though, isn't it? And the beer's like £8 a pint or something, but it is a nice pub. Dark Star, good evening to you. I hope you're well. Who else we got? Darren, is the under-21 game on YouTube? Does anyone know? Do you know what? I don't think it is. I could be wrong, but I'm not sure that it is. but someone should know. Where is Boreham Wood? It's in Hertfordshire. It's northwestish London. Well, outside of London, it's Hertfordshire. What else we got here? Let's scroll down, see what we got. We didn't get Liverpool Frog the other week. We didn't get that Liverpool the other week. No, exactly. We didn't. Just our luck. Mavropanos, Superman. Darren, can't drop Dinos. Unstoppable, 10 out of 10 performance. I want to know from you guys, who would you, of the three current centre-backs that we've got, Dinos, Todibo and Disasi, we go four at the back on Sunday. Which of those three comes out? Mark, would it be Disasi who is dropped? I don't think so, because you've got to be honest, Disasi has completely changed, transformed our back lineup. I wouldn't drop Disasi, Avid, even if it's just mentally. He's been there for all our clean sheets and great defensive performances. It probably should be Todibo. And yet, Todibo was also superb on Saturday. His pace, the great pace he's got, he's calm on the ball, and even he contributed really, really well. Darren, Bowen grown in his captain role, and that's really good to see, isn't it? I'm really pleased for Bowen. He's getting a lot of stick lately, but I'm pleased for him. Avid, Disasi coming in at the exact moment we started to look solid at the back, which is why you wouldn't. So can you see the dilemma that Nuno's in? Disasi has absolutely improved our back line. Todibo coming back from suspension has been superb, and now Mavropanos. But isn't that what you want? You want proper competition in all places in the squad. You want the players to be fighting to be the ones chosen. Mark, good evening, mate. I hope you're well. Might be a bit of topic. Well, watch out for Palace in the relegation battle. They have City, Newcastle, ourselves, and Liverpool in the next 4 games. Only 10 points between us and them. 10, it's a good shout, but 10 might just be a few too many, unfortunately. But that's a decent shout. Ronnie, good evening, mate. I hope you're well. 39 points and 8 matches. They're on 39, are they? Yeah, I think they're pretty safe. Obsidian, good evening, mate. I hope you're well. Leon, good evening, mate. Thank you for joining. I hope you're well. Good evening to you. Andrew, how are you, mate? Hermanson has been excellent. I thought he was finished a few months ago. I've got to take my hat off to him. He's been good. Mark replying to Ronnie, does seem outrageous for me to say, I know, but their other 4 games are Bournemouth, Everton, Brentford and Arsenal. I personally don't see them getting many. You're talking about them getting no points. That would be very interesting. Leon, Debbie, I think you're right. This can go many directions before it's over. That I agree with. Does seem hard for a Palace, but 2 draws and it seems doable. Yeah, I think that's all they need. Ibrahim, good evening. I hope you're well. Thank you for joining. Andrew Sullivan ain't going nowhere for the time being, sadly. No, of course he's not. We know that. We've always known that. And that's what I'm going to talk about in a minute when I talk about the director of football. Apparently, we're looking for one. Hammer it. Hermanson looked good, very good of late. It does coincide with our centre-backs being in the form of their lives. That is a really good point. Avid, Kretinsky paid an extra 18 mil or something to lock in the share price if he decided to buy out for the rest of the club. He didn't do that, and that's lapsed. So he paid 18 mil not to buy them out. Why would he now? Exactly that. Good point. Exactly that. He paid 18 mil to buy it, to lock in the he just wants to be a shareholder. He doesn't want to be the overall shareholder, the man in charge. Danny, good evening, mate. I hope you're well. Ronnie, we have played our hardest matches. We just need to pick up a few wins. We've played our hardest match. We just need to pick up a few wins. I think they're coming, mate. I'm sure you're going on Saturday, so I'll see you there. Leon did say a few months back that this is going to be a roller coaster until we're safe. Being safe might be the last game of the season by the look of things. Ibrahim, Nuno has a track record of improving goalkeepers, having been one himself. He turns Sells from a shaky keeper to an incredibly solid one. That's a really, really good shout, mate. Really good shouts. Who else have we got here? Paul, good evening, mate. Thank you for joining. Mark, still upset West Ham closed down the chat on Academy Games. Did they? Why? Why did they do that? Did something happen, or they just... That was quite entertaining having the chat in there, no? Joan, good evening. I hope you're well. It will be Todibo who'll get the nod over Mavropanos, and that's tough, but he'll understand. Yeah, fair shout. Leon. Mark, have they closed that down because of protest red cards? What, on the chat? How do you do that? Don't know. Darkstar. Would be very difficult choice to make about which player who plays in the back four. Nuno headache, but it's a good headache to have. Absolutely correct. It is a very good headache to have. John, good evening, mate. Dinos to be dropped only because he took that right hook from Haaland. Well, there's a good reason to keep him in, but apparently he's got a lovely shiny black eye. Ryan the Iron, good evening. Stelly Savalas, good evening, mate. Thank you for joining, Ryan. Good evening to you, Nigel. Look how we've improved as we have choices for positions now, indicating a bit more depth. And I talked about that last week about the squad. I talked about what did it mean that Nuno was rebalancing the squad. And now we know, because it wasn't about numbers. Do you remember how we got a bit carried away? A few of us were a bit obsessed with going, oh my God, we've lost something like 9 players in the January transfer window and we've only bought in 5, and now we could see why. Because at least 7 of those 9 weren't needed. They were sort of filling holes for nothing. They were there, but not contributing in the way that Nuno wanted them to. But now we've got those 5. I'm going to take La Madrid out of that. So let's say 4. We've got 4 players that have come in who are actually contributing. They're part of the first team. They're either on the bench or they're starting. They're in the starting lineup. Darren, possibly Nuno will play 3 at the back away against Villa. If Summerville is back, I would say not. If Summerville is back, I think he goes with 4 at the back. He will put Summerville in to accommodate, because if Summerville comes in and he keeps 5 at the back, that means you're going to lose either Pablo or Souček or someone in the middle, and you don't want that. Alan, someone suggested Dinos will be left out on the basis of his face block from Haaland. If he was concussed and came off in the game against Man City, I would say yes. But I would say, given that he was allowed to play on, then he will probably be available. Will he be available, but on the bench is an interesting one. Villa have Europa League on Thursday. They do indeed. So their focus is going to be on that. And let's hope it knackers them out. Do you remember when we were playing Europa League? It's not easy. It's not easy at all. Who else we got? Andrew, still Arsenal, Villa, Newcastle to play. Can only see 3. This is it, you see. I'd say no. Villa, Newcastle to play, and Arsenal. I said the other week that if we're going to get out of this sticky predicament we're in, we're going to have to beat one of the bigger teams. We've got a draw against Man City. I bet we'll do one on Arsenal. Arsenal away. We've done it before. That would be interesting, wouldn't it? We can do it. We're very capable of it. And I think we go away to Newcastle, go away to Villa. I think we're going to win this Saturday as well. Call me deluded, but I really do. Leon, Mark, the commentator, was still doing the quiz and then answered himself on the Under-21s YouTube. What? Is this the Under-21s chat? Dabble a bit. Good evening to you. Isn't that loophole on how owners can put in their own money, like Sullivan to pay 100 million, never going to happen, for a guarantee to buy extra shares if they become available? All they have to do is dilute their shares. So it's not that extra shares become available. So extra shares are available. Extra shares are now, have been for the last 2.5 years, available. The Gold family want to sell their shares, but no one's buying them. So they can buy, but they don't have to, but none of them are doing that. The alternative, they want to invest money, they kind of dilute their shares. So they like they did during COVID when they invested a few quid in the club, but they don't want to do it. Who else we got? Arse at home still? Absolutely, Pete. I think we could do them. I really do. Wolves in decent form, yeah, well, we're not going to lose 3 times to them, are we? Darren, Mavropanos to score against Arsenal, might have a 5 on that. That was his only other Premier League goal. He scored against them with another header. Was it the first season he was with us? Yes, Del. He asks football questions while the game is on. Oh, I know he does that, but is that why it got taken? I don't understand why it got taken down. All right, let's go into the whole issue about the fan advisory board meeting. And I looked through the minutes, and it was held. It was held a couple of weeks back. This was at the time when everyone was believing that Karen Brady was going to leave the club and she was going to resign at that meeting. Now, the way the FAB, the Fan Advisory Board, is made up is from a number of fan groups, such as Hammers United, West Ham Disabled Supporters Association, bondholders, supporter clubs, amongst others. Now, if you recall, leading up to the meeting, like I said, Brady was meant to resign. And apparently, they had a chat with her off the record, and she said, "I'm going nowhere." So we now know that. We knew that a couple of weeks back. The meeting covered a number of standing items. They go over sort of issues about things like leadership and governance and the fact that how we operate, our heritage, the academy, the women's team. So they talk about a number of different issues affecting West Ham. Now, one of the things that came up was a very interesting, one of the first comments in the minutes was about a director of football. Apparently, we're planning to return to that model. Really? Now, that'd be quite kind of a surprise because David Sullivan, he's tried that a couple of times, hasn't he? Wasn't called a director of football for want of a better description. He was more or less that kind of thing, or he was meant to be, Tim Steidten. That didn't go so well. And it didn't go so well because Tim Steidten and David Moyes had different ideas as to who was in charge of transfers. It was meant to be Steidten, but Moyes was having none of it. And if you recall what happened, Moyes was offered a new contract. It was without any input into transfers. He procrastinated, he stalled, and then by the time he went to accept it, it had been taken off the table. Now, we all know the half-hearted effort that Sullivan made to try and appease both Steidten and Moyes. Now, I think what threw it a bit before the contract was offered was that we won the Europa Conference League. I think Sullivan must have gone, I can't sack him yet. He's just won a cup for us. But I think a lot of fans said back then it would have been the right thing to do. And then after he was offered the new deal, it was too late. But when Steidten took control of transfers, he didn't necessarily cover himself in glory. He had some hit and miss range of transfers. Now, ironically, two players who I think are pretty decent in the squad right now. We've talked about one of them, Nuno'S, who Steidten went unsigned, and the other one is Mahamadou Kante, the young French player from Paris FC. We knew nothing about him. He hardly played for Paris FC itself, and we're like, what's going on here? But he's a decent player, so fair play. Maybe Steidten had a few answers. Other ones, not so great, but on the whole thing with having a person in charge of transfers didn't work because he was the fall guy. For anything that went wrong, Steidten was the fall guy. And soon after Moyes left, Steidten left as well. Now, Sullivan himself has alluded to things not going right because he's not in charge of transfers. He's more or less said it. He's more or less said it's a mess because I'm not in control of transfers. So he nominated himself de facto director of football. Now, he simply just can't let go. He can't let go of being able to not dabble in the transfer window. So how on earth Brady suggesting in that meeting that we're going to go back to that director of football model is odd to me. So there's that one thing. There's that thing that we've tried it. Sullivan never sees anything through. If he thinks it's gone wrong, some may call it astute. Some may call it just not, not a good way of doing business, managing your business. But Carl McCauley, came in. He didn't do too much wrong, but he was thrown out after Potter left. Steidten, I think it was right to get rid of Steidten. We just got the wrong director of football or whatever title he had back then. But every time it goes wrong, it kind of, in his head, Sullivan thinks he's been proved right. Oh, I did it. I tried it. It's no good. We're going back to the tried and tested method. Me and my agent mates are all going to sort things out for you, is his thinking, which clearly is not the right way to manage a football team, especially the transfers. He can't let go. So we've got that issue. We've got that issue to contend with. We've also got the issue of if we go down, what's going to happen then? We're going to get a director of football. Brady apparently has said, even if we get relegated, we will still bring in a director of football. Okay, fair play. And then, of course, the director of football is going to go, Well, that's all fair and well. But if I come in as director of football and you're all talking about all your budgets being cut by 50%, because apparently players' salaries goes down 50%, everyone go, all of that happens, to manage the budget. So a new director of football comes in and goes, how much money have I got to spend? Oh, you don't have any money, mate. You're just going to have to just sell players. Well, who's going to be attracted to that? So you got that issue as well. You got the issue of potential relegation. Clearly, we're going to wait until the end of the season before we decide to get a director of football. So at least the director of football will know where the land lies. So we've got the Sullivan issue. He doesn't let go. He wants to be involved in transfers. You've got the issue of all the agents that keep crawling around. Who want to have their piece of pie, and then when they don't get it, they just hurl abuse at the club behind the scenes, and then it leaks out to ITKs that all the nasty stuff that you hear during the transfer window when it's all negative comes from those agents, because apparently they've been sidelined. But sooner or later, they don't get sidelined for long because Sullivan can't help himself. So you got that a director of football is going to have to contend with. Bit of a poison chalice. And then we've got the whole Nuno factor as well, on top of everything else. Now, it was clear to everybody why Nuno fell out with Marinakis of Nottingham Forest. Because Marinakis brought in former Arsenal technical director Edu to become his right-hand man, to become head of global football, which included overseeing transfer business. Nuno didn't like that, because Nuno is a bit like David Moyes. He wants to be involved in the transfer business, or he certainly wants to have his say. So Nuno, at the time when he was at Nottingham Forest, was public about it. He thought the squad was unbalanced. Now, he says about our squad needed a rebalance. He thought the Nottingham Forest squad was unbalanced. There's that word again, balance. And the squad was very, very far from being ready for the season ahead, this season that we're in. So how will a director of football manage that? Because Nuno is going to want to be part of the transfer business. He's going to want to have his say. So if a director of football comes in who's meant to be the person in charge of transfers, how's that going to work? And also we've got another factor, because we know that Nuno likes George Mendes. George Mendes, his favourite agent. So we've got Sullivan with his agents, and we've got Nuno with George Mendes. I mean, a poor director of football will come into West Ham United. He won't stand a chance. And we've seen this happen before. We've seen it happen with Steiden when he had the battle with Moyes. We've seen it happen with McCauley, kind of, because when Potter went, McCauley wasn't going to stay much longer. And we've seen Sullivan, getting in on the act, wanting to be the de facto director of football. So when in the minutes of the FAB meeting, you saw that we're going to go back to the director of football model, it's lip service, isn't it? It's got to be. I can't think of it being anything else, because it's just not going to work. You've got too many characters at West Ham that want to be involved in transfer business. So I don't quite understand why Karen Brady even bothered to say that we're going to go back to the DOF model. Look, maybe we will, but for all the reasons I've given you, I can't see it working. I simply can't. Don't hold your breath on this, because a new director of football come in at the end of the season is going to have so much to contend with before he even starts thinking about player purchases. I don't know. I just thought that was an interesting one, a real highlight in the fan advisory board meeting, which made me sort of go, director of football? How? Why? When? Anyway, crucially, of course, I've said before, with all the losses that were put out on our accounts only recently, the director of football is going to want to know whether he's actually got a budget, and like I said, he may be his first task is to sell players before he can buy any. So many unanswered questions that lead me to think that getting a director of football, like I say, was a bit of lip service rather than a reality. I guess in time We'll see whether it's going to materialise or not. Other issues were discussed. The club's strategic vision. Is there one? There were a lot of sound bites in that vision statement that followed it, such as delivering competitive first-team football. Well, fuck me. If you're not going to deliver competitive first-team football, then why bother? I mean, it's just obvious, isn't it? Where's the detail? Where's the detail behind that sound bite? More sound bites. We want to be consistently finishing in the top 10. We want to be qualifying for Europe. We want to have very good cup runs. No shit, Sherlock. Of course you do. Every football club in the Premier League wants exactly the same. But you didn't say how you're going to do it. I'm intrigued. I sometimes think to myself, maybe I should apply to be a part of the FAB, because I don't know if people ask that. No disrespect to them. Please don't get me wrong. Andy Payne from Hammers United is superb. He really knows his shit. But sometimes I just wonder whether we just miss a trick by not, when we hear a soundbite, someone in there should be going, hang on, I just need to question you on that. Where's the detail? What's going on with the detail? You're giving me a soundbite, but you're not giving me detail. And when I read the report, the minutes, from that meeting, there were, like I said, there was an awful lot of soundbite, not a lot of detail. Now, the club also gave itself a pat on the back in this meeting, because it stated, off the cheek of it, they were like, what we've done in the last 6 years is we've spent £630 million on transfers. Now, if I was in that meeting, I would have gone, hang on a minute. I'm not disputing that you spent £630 million in the last 6 years on transfers. But how much of that have you lost by selling players for half the money that you bought them for? That wasn't in the minutes. Didn't look like anyone questioned that. So great, well done, West Ham. You've spent £630 million in the last 6 years. Absolutely wonderful. Averages at 100 million, just over 100 million a season. But how much money have you lost from the players that you bought because you've then had to sell them on for next to nothing? Fulkrug, as a prime example, that we bought him for. Now he's going to probably end up going to some mid-table German team for maybe, I don't know, 10 mil if we're lucky. It's like, come on, West Ham, stop trying to pull the wool over our eyes. The fact that they were patting themselves on the back, mentioning that they spent that much money in the last 6 years, and yet not admitting how poorly our transfer business is more of the same again. It's more of sound bites, lip service, telling you something to make it all look good. But the devil is in the detail, and they're not giving us the detail. And someone in that meeting should have gone, excuse me, 630 million in the last 6 years. How much money have you lost from the players that you've sold for far less than you bought them for? I don't know. And a sense of irony, really, that they're patting themselves on the back, having spent all that money when they've announced those huge losses in the finances at the end of the 24-25 season. Anyway, other things were discussed, such as ticket prices, and it looks like they're going to be increased in the forthcoming new season. Now, it's going to be very interesting. If we go down, what are they going to do then? Are they going to still increase the prices? I guess they could argue in the Championship, you get more games for your money. Fair play. 46 games instead of 38. But anyway. And then onto the stadium. Again, more lip service, because where the club wouldn't... Yet again, I don't know if you remember, several months ago, I did a show talking about the possibility of standing areas in the lower tiers and how West Ham United were going to look into it, and they promised to do so, and they did. They did a feasibility study, and guess what the outcome was? We're not getting any standing areas in the lower tiers. What they are considering, there are standing areas in some of the upper tiers, I think for the away fans, and they're considering putting more standing areas in another part of the upper tier. Who gives a... Oh, I'm not in the upper tier, so I should be respectful to those who are. But I don't want to stand in the upper tier. I want to stand in the Bobby Moore lower than that, like I have done. They basically and finally admitted, West Ham, that there's no chance that the lower tiers are going to get standing areas, because what they said was in the meeting, in the minutes, was if we ever reconfigure the seating area, if we have to reconfigure it, change the seating, then it will be considered then. And apparently a question was asked, well, how long does this configuration, the current configuration, last for? And the response was something like, well, it will live, outsee you and I. In other words, it's there for good. In other words, there's no way on earth we're getting seating in the lower tiers. So, and I knew this. I knew this when they promised to do it. When Hammers United put forward a number of their proposals, for West Ham, about the stadium, about the atmosphere, about improving it. Part of that was having a standing area, a family zone, and all that sort of stuff. I knew it was lip service then, but the fact that they promised to do a review, to do to look at it, an independent review, a feasibility study, sorry. I just knew that the outcome was going to be, well, yeah, we've studied it, we've looked at it, but we're not going to change it. And then they went on to say, well, if we do change it, it's still got to be approved by the London Stadium and the Sports Ground Safety Authority. Look, people, more lip service, because we know damn well football stadiums in the Premier League have already been given the clearance to start putting in standing areas at their stadiums. So there's nothing wrong with having standing areas. We all stand in the Bobby Moore lower. If we had a rail in front of us, it would have been even better. It would be even better. We already prove that it's safe. No one's ever been hurt in the 10 years that we've been at the stadium. So more lip service about, oh, well, we'd love to, but you never know that the safety authority is going to say no. No, they're not, because the ground safety authority happens across all Premier League pitches, well, across all pitches. But in the Premier League, Premier League clubs have been given the authorization to put in standing areas. Come on, West Ham. It's yet another, sort of like hoodwink. They don't want to do it. And the intriguing thing is they don't want to do it because the bottom line really is because it would cost a lot of money. Now, they made a cheeky statement. Well, it felt to me that it was a bit of a cheeky statement. They suggested that should supporters want to pay for standing areas, the club would increase ticket prices to cover the cost. So that's the real reason. Let's be really honest. The real reason is because they don't want to pay to reconfigure the seating area in the lower tiers. It's going to cost them money. I don't know how much. No one knows how much. Maybe they should do a feasibility. If this feasibility study was done, then perhaps it would have covered how much it was going to cost. I want to know how much it's going to cost. Do I want to pay for it? Absolutely not. Why should I? It should be the club that does that. They just don't want to fork out. That's the bottom line. They don't want to fork out. But I'll tell you one success that's coming, apparently. Let's see if it does come. Apparently, the wall is going to come tumbling down. So there you go. I almost started singing there, but my voice is crap. So there you go. Apparently, the wall is coming down. The wall that separates the home fans from the away fans. It's going to be replaced by perspex. Listen, better that than what is currently there, because at least perspex you can see the opposition fans and have a bit of banter with them. So it's going to happen in the close season, apparently. So look out for that. If it doesn't happen, it won't surprise me one bit. Look, there are many other issues that were discussed, but those for me were the main headlines. You can go and see the full minutes at whuisc.com. West Ham United Supporters Committee, I think it is. Independent Supporters Committee. West Ham United Independent Supporters Committee. whuisc.com. Go and look for the minutes there and have a good giggle. Right. Done a lot of talking. I've already done almost an hour, and I haven't hardly mentioned you guys, have I? So let's have a look. Done Arse at home. There we go. Start from there. Darren, Mavropanos to score against Arsenal. Oh, we've done that one as well. Leon, yes, Stel? He asks football. Yeah, done that one as well. Claret and Blue forever. Good evening to you guys. And when the Spuds go marching down. They want to play teams like Millwall. Look, let's hope it happens, because the one saving, I know this is going to sound weird, and one of the viewers mentioned this to me in one of the comments he made on the video. And I somewhat agree. The good thing about Spurs drawing at the weekend means that Igor Tudor is there for another maybe 2 or 3 games. Because I feel that had they lost on Sunday, I think he would have been sacked. That may not have been good for West Ham, because if he would have been sacked, I talked about new manager bounce and how I don't think I don't think Tottenham Hotspur or Nottingham Forest are going to get or have had a new manager bounce, and I've been proved right so far. Vitor Pereira hasn't had a win since his return, and the last 4 games for Igor Tudor were all defeats. So the actual draw at the weekend against Liverpool has halted that run of defeats. If they'd have got beaten on Sunday, sorry, Igor Tudor would have gone, and then they would have got another manager in, and then that might have been our bad luck. Because if they got another manager in, he may give them the new manager bounce, and then they might pull away. So, in a crazy sort of way, the viewer that said that wrote that as a comment in after one of my videos, I totally agree with him. I think he's absolutely right. The draw has kept him there, has kept Igor Tudor there for another 1 or 2 games, which can only be good for us. Now, someone else mentioned the draw. Oh, is this the road to their recovery? I don't think so, to be quite honest with you. I really don't. I think it'll be back. I don't know who they got this coming weekend, but I think it'll be back to normal again this weekend when they get the spanking that they should have got against Liverpool. Trust Liverpool, eh? Avid. The comment at the end that was read out after Brady left doesn't fill me with confidence. I obviously can't say anything, but not denying it is just as bad. I've lost track of what that relates to, mate. So you're going to have to sort of give me a bit more background. Arse might go weak because of Europe. They could, Ray. It's possible. I don't know. I don't think their squad is as good in depth as many people believe it is. They've got good players, but I think we can get something from them. 2 up, 2 down. Think with the director of football model, that's the club's trying to appease fans. Yeah, I just don't believe it, mate. I just don't think it. And if it does, I mean, like I said, if it does, then how long is it going to be given before it's trashed again? Just like Tim Steinen was trashed and Kyle McCauley was trashed. I just feel that it will happen, and then something will go wrong, because you can never be perfect on your transfer business. You can never get everything 100% right, but something will go wrong, and then bosh, there you go. Director of football will be out on his backside. Avid, don't forget that he also signed Todibo. Fair play. And I still think we will letting Guilherme go. Not too sure. He's already starting the Champions League. I know he is. Yeah, I know. Sporting, so definitely not as bad as some tried to make out. Look, I don't think he's a bad player. I just don't think he was the right player for us at the time. I just don't think he was the right player at the time. But yeah, fair play. He brought Todibo in as well. Harry, normally after Easter, the R's start choking down hard. Easy 3 points. Let's see. Danny, the bookies ain't stupid, and we're still favourites to go down. Well, we might be, because we're back in the bottom 3, but I don't know. Mark, yeah, I know he's at Cologne now. Steiden, good luck to him. Andrew, Tati and Pablo have been great buys. Credit to who spotted their potential. Now, my understanding is for Tati, it was Max Hahn, the data guru behind the scenes, the head of data and analysis recruitment, or something like that it's called. Frog, do we play Arsenal in the league before or after we beat them in the FA Cup? Before, because the FA Cup will be the week before the final game, or the 2 weeks before the final game. Avid, let's not forget that in the 3K word statement at the beginning of the season, they lauded Potter and McCauley to only toss them aside mere days later. Can't believe a word they say. Totally agree. Totally agree. Good evening to you, Sean. I hope you're well, mate. Thank you for joining. Who else have we got here? Darren. Wait, will us getting a director of football stop Sutherland? No, it won't. It won't. Absolutely, it won't. Which is why I kind of laughed in thinking that how's this come about? Why have they even bothered to say that we're looking at a director of football model again? I don't get it. Because you're absolutely right. It won't stop Sullivan. City beat them cup and league, then we go and do the same. Would be beautiful. Who's that? Arsenal. Gregory. A director of football will only bring chaos until Sullivan is handcuffed. A director needs a clear hierarchy. There needs to be one voice. 100% agree. And we know damn well, as I said earlier on, that he can't help himself. Sullivan, he wants to medal. He thinks he's actually really good at transfer business. He actually does. He thinks he's great. Avid. Keep in mind, whoever we get as director of football, they need to be unemployed and free. It's Sully's prerequisite. It is just that. Leon. Oops. Let's get Leon's comment. Had to think for a second there, Mark. What did Mark say? Valletta Shark Watch. You're going off on a tangent. I can't get involved, otherwise I'm going to completely lose track. Andrew. Trying to appease fans, I suspect, with the director of football. More empty words and BS from BS. Frog. Could do with the director of finances first. Really good point. Maybe Sully is in trouble. Well, yeah, I'm not talking about that. I know what you mean. Joan, we want the seats to be closer to the pitch. Well, here we are again. Now, it's something that it was Nige, Shedman, the historian, the West Ham historian, said to me some time ago. He said there's only one way you can get there isn't a way of getting the seats closer to the pitch, but there is a way of getting the atmosphere better, and that's to move the seats even further back. So it's closer to the upper tiers, which makes a lot of sense. But anyway, we've got a great atmosphere at the moment, a great atmosphere. That's for another day, maybe. Danny, they can blame the director of football for selling our best players in the summer. Good point. Darren, hope the first thing DOF does is sell all the deadwood. We've actually, in fairness, started to do that. That and the money we're owed from sales of players will mean we don't have to sell any of our players. Well, I made a mistake the other week because I did a show and I talked about, we're owed a lot of money, etc., only to be told that a lot of the money that we're owed, we've already sold for getting a cash injection into the club. So we're only owed now about 4 or 5 mil in total out of the 70 odd mil that we were owed. But having said that, the other part of what you said there is actually right. There is still deadwood. Most of them, well, all of them are currently out on loan. Maxwell Cornet, Fulkrug, a number of other players who are never. And that's it for them. They're not going to be West Ham players in the future. James Ward-Prowse and so on. So they're the ones that will be sold if we can get buyers. And then, of course, there will be players from the current squad. Max Kilman. We'll lose half our money on Max Kilman. We bought him for 40 million. There's no way on God's earth we're going to get 40 million back for him. We'd be lucky if we get 20. But Max Kilman will go. And there will be 1 or 2 others that will go that will be, on the periphery. Now, I know Callum Wilson has agreed a new contract. I've said that. I did a show on that earlier last week. But he's only agreed it, just as an update on that one, he's only agreed it so long as we stay in the Premier League. Because I said in the show that I did, I said, he's agreed a 1-year deal. What if we go down? Does he know he'll be playing in the Championship? But there you go. It's only going to be a 1-year deal. He's agreed to it verbally on the proviso that we stay up. So, Mark, Anderson went back to Lazio for 2 mil. Exactly. That's the kind of example I'm saying. So, all very well saying we spent £630 million. How much of that did we lose? And I know I did the analysis, another show I did some time back. I did the analysis and I said, this is how much we spent on players. This is how much we've lost. Maybe I'm going to look at that again, actually. I'll do a little recap of that. Leon, they're trying to baffle us with bullshit. But it's obvious bullshit now. We see right through it bullshit, isn't it? Andrew, Fulkrug to offer 9 for 2.5 mil. 2.5 mil. Well, he's at Cole now, Steiden. He loves Fulkrug. He can go and buy him for Cologne next season. Randy, evening, Sel, and the chat. Very well, mate. Thank you for joining. Much appreciated. Iron Disciple, good evening to you. Mavropanos, absolutely. Randy, fresh, good to see you, my friend. Who else we got here? Took a Kraken in the face. Took a Kraken to the face. Well, Kraken is a really nice spice rum. So hopefully he has not. No, but it was pretty. Anyway. What else we got? Randy. Darren, hope everyone's saying hello to each other. Let's see if we got any comments coming out. Not that you crack on saying hello. It's really good. Randy, in terms of director of football in the long term, we do need to get one in the long term, but you feel like while this board are in charge, rather than getting the best in class, always go for the cheap option. But this is the thing, isn't it? You know, director of football, we started and we got in, it didn't quite work out. But it doesn't matter whether he's good or bad, a director of football. It matters whether he's going to be allowed to actually do his job. And this is the difference. I don't know if a director of football will be allowed, will be free to do his job. I'm Disciple. Anything involving reaching for a pen and a checkbook. Steve Irons, good evening, mate. I hope you're well. Very optimistic we'll stay up, and I hope all the spuds go down. Randy, Ibrahim, saying hello again. You crack on, people. Let's carry on. What else we got here? David, season ticket prices will still need to rise. Perspex isn't cheap. I don't know. I've got no idea. Is it that expensive, or are you just winding me up? I think you're probably winding me up. Perspex, it's not that expensive, is it? It's not in there. A small bit that we need. We're not surrounding the whole stadium with it. Avid. The comment after was regarding the article in The Sun about the police investigation into a Premier League executive. I won't say more for reasons. Absolutely. Thank you for not saying more for reasons that are pretty obvious. Iron Disciple. Spurs will get whooped by Forest by the ghost of Ange visiting the House of Tudor. I hope so. Of the two, actually, I think the answer is pretty obvious. But of those two teams, who do you want to see win? Is it better for us if Spurs win, or is it better for us if Nottingham Forest win? Andrew, Everton were unlucky against Arsenal. They deserve something. I didn't see the game, so I don't know. So I'll take your word for that. Randy, right now looking at the results, it was not bad, but could have been better. However, at least Leeds, Forest and Spurs failed to take advantage. Only Spurs draw matches. Ours won from Cities. Well, does it for a shit Liverpool team? Mind you, we did want them to win, didn't we? Ibrahim, good night, Ibrahim. Thank you for joining, mate. Really much appreciated. Leon, if we get a director of football, which we do need, he has to get full control, which history tells us is a no. Absolutely. Frog, Spuds are where we were earlier this season. Can't see how that gets fixed in 8 weeks. This is what I'm thinking, mate. That's exactly what if you think about our beginning of our season, how poor it was, sorry. And you're absolutely right. That's what Spurs are going through now. Cup final is on the 16th of May, 2 days before my birthday. What a birthday present that will be. Talking Avons, good evening, mate. I hope you're well. Who's going to Boreham Wood tomorrow night? See you there if you're going. Randy, Leon, going forward, if we saw a real change, this board would have to get the best in class and give up control of the club side and allow the D-off to do the job. Unfortunately, history tells us you're spot on. You're spot on. This is why I'm like the whole thing about putting it in there in the minutes in the meeting to say that we're going to get a director of football model back makes me go, well, what's changing? Because the only way that's going to work is, as you've just rightly pointed out, is if things change and Sullivan doesn't get involved. Ray, we'll go to the last game again. Oh, we'll need pain relief, morphine. You know what? It could do. It could go to the last game. Mark, great point against City. 1 corner, 1 shot, 1 goal. That's all you need. That's all you need. Well, would have been nice to get a second corner and another goal. But am I being greedy? Yardy, good English Yardy. Good evening, mate. I hope you're well. While Sullivan is at West Ham, we don't need a director of football. His interference is a problem. BS out and good riddance. Absolutely agree. Big Ains, good evening to you. Sullivan has only got a few transfers right. Dawson, Summerville, but my God, look at how many he's got wrong. It's why we're in this financial mess. Yeah, I agree, because he dabbles, he can't leave off. Brian Levy, Leon might buy us a new stadium. Yeah, and pigs can fly. Andy, good morning to you, mate. I hope you're well. Thank you very much, mate. Much appreciated. Trodge, good evening to you. I hope you're well. Levy was clever screwing us with the stadium, wasn't he just? You know, all that song and dance he made is only because it got him the money that he needed to build the Tottenham Stadium. Jenny Rossi, good evening to you. Director of football thing is just an attempt to deflect the financial mismanagement of the club under the ownership. They think we're all mugs. I think it goes beyond. Yeah, it is to deflect. No, I think you're right. Actually, I was going to try and say something else, but no, I think you're spot on there. It's to make us not think about the losses that we've incurred. Brian, what if Levy could buy the stadium and turn us into a profitable club? We believe we should be. Weren't Brian Levy, by the way? It's Daniel Levy. Someone said Brian earlier on. No, Brian, I don't think it will. I don't think it will happen. I don't think. I don't think it would happen. I don't know. Uh, Sean, what sort houses cut of 630 million? Quite a sizable amount, I would imagine. Trodge, we would get a much better deal and might even been able to buy the stadium if it wasn't for Levy. Levy did stir the shit pot without a shadow of a doubt, and he did it not because he wanted the stadium. He did it for his own gain, and he got what he needed from it. English Yardie, if we stay up, how lucky is Sullivan and Brady? It's insane to think our club is being run by morons. Shocking. I agree. Steve, why do we buy crap players from Wolves? Can someone remind me who that last winger we got from the old gold? What apart from Traore, and we got Kilman as well. I don't know. This is the problem. This is why we do need a director of football, because it does stop the manager from going out and buying the players he wants to fit his system, so that when he leaves, his system goes down the Swanee. And this is the problem that we've had. That's why a director of football is good, because there'll be a continuity. But what you'll do with a director of football is you'll put him in charge of getting the manager as well, so that there is a continuity, there is a consistency. That's never going to happen at West Ham whilst the board are there. It's never going to happen. Michael, don't forget, Stel, the Gooners had Adams, Keogh, and Bold, 3 good centre halves. They did, yeah. And it was usually Bold, wasn't it? That was the one that was sort of on the bench. Oh, he had a number of games, but I don't know. Who else we got? Darren, hope the Forest Spuds game is a draw. Ultimately, I love Spurs to go down, but I'm more concerned with where we finish. Would the draw be the best? I don't know. Matt Jarvis. Wasn't Jarvis 10 mil at the time? I don't remember what he cost. Mark, I really don't care who goes down between Spurs, Leeds and Forest, just as long as it's not us. That's all that matters. Absolutely agree. Trodge, Jarvis crossing it for Carroll never delivered, did it? Jarvis, no, he wasn't the best, really, was he? We're drawing too many games, need some back-to-back wins if we're going to get out of this. Listen, I think the games that we're drawing, at least we're not losing. You know, like I said, everyone predicted that we weren't going to get anything from the Man City game, and yet we walked away with a point, and I think that's pretty good. Andy, need Spuds and Forest to draw. We need a win or a draw, only 1 point between us. Would it be the right result for them to get a draw? Listen, if we get a win, almost doesn't matter, does it, in a way? Mark, Villa played on Thursday, need to take advantage on Sunday. Absolutely agree. Randy, we have got to look at the next crucial game week, the game week. We need to beat Villa whilst Spurs and Forest draw. Hopefully Brentford to proceed to beat Leeds. Then by the international break, we'll be out of the bottom 3. The only thing that worries that would be lovely. The only thing that worries me is international break. We've got a tendency, haven't we, to after a break, we've got a tendency to sort of like take a bit of time to get back into the swing of things. I really, really hope that doesn't happen this time. I really hope. Claret and Blue forever. You don't need a dickhead of football. What the F? We've already got Sullivan. John just tuned in. Hello, mate. Thank you for tuning in. Much appreciated. I hope you're well. Let's scroll down. Let's get some more comments. Trodge, Spurs commercial revenue now dwarfs ours, so Levy did a great job. You absolutely look, whether you like it or not, it's a pretty decent stadium and they're making money out of it as well. So yeah, I agree with you. Mark, will Nuno keep 3 centre backs for Villa or be adventurous? We talked about this earlier. I think he will go with 2, but of the 3, who are you going to drop? Who's going to come out of that? Todibo or Todibo or Mavropanos or Disasi? Which would you drop? Any news on Summerville? Clearly, you weren't watching the show at the beginning of the game. Let me do a recap, shall I? Because I know there's an awful lot more people watching now than there were earlier in the show. So let me do a recap for you all. My understanding is, from what we've been told, is Crysencio Summerville is possibly going to be back for the Aston Villa game. Fingers crossed that he is. And then I asked the question, if he does come back, that means we go forward at the back. And which of the three centre-backs would you then put in his place? We talked about women's team, talk about academy. And the important thing about the academy is Tuesday night, tomorrow night, when they play Boreham Wood at Boreham Wood in the cup final of the National League Cup final. If you're going, if you see me in the crowd, do say hello. My memory's crap, so you're going to have to remind me your name as well. But yeah, Boreham Wood tomorrow is the under-21s game. What else did we talk about? We talked about loan players. Let's not go into that again. And then we talked about the match and about the four points. I mean, I've talked a lot. I did a review, a reflection on the game this morning. So if you haven't watched that video, do watch it after this show. I also did this post-match review straight after the game on Saturday. But I've got 4 highlights for me. There are many you can choose from. But for me, there are 4 highlights of the game on Saturday. The first, of course, is Nuno'S and how well he played. It's absolutely superb. You know, he's one of the most improved footballers at West Ham United at this moment in time. So really pleased for him. He started the week well, scoring the winner against Brentford in the penalty shootout, and then finishing the week where he got the fantastic equaliser against Man City. Now, I've given him stick, but I've got to be honest, Mads Hermansen was decent against Man City, and I've got to take my hat off to him. I think he played well. Yes, he did get chipped. Yes, his height was telling again. Yes, his positioning wasn't great. But other than that, you know, other than conceding a goal, he did well. Did well to keep us in the game. So that's good. A decent display by Bowen, who's been sort of, many fans have been saying out of sorts lately. I gave a whole load of stats to suggest that he's not being too bad. I think something like 9 goal involvements in the last 10 games, which is pretty good. And then the team effort itself, the overall team effort, the way the camaraderie, the way we're playing for each other, the way we're communicating, is just a joy to watch. And then I started talking about the FAB. And before that, there's a story that came out earlier on about apparently Kretinsky is biding his time. From a reporter from the paper said, Kretinsky is buying his time. And I've poo-pooed that. And the reason why I poo-pooed it is because Kretinsky can buy the club out now. The gold shares are still on offer. They haven't been sold in the last 2.5, 3 years. They're still available. If Kretinsky really wanted to take over West Ham United, all he's got to do is buy the gold shares. He owns 27%. The golds own 25%. There's your, you become the major shareholder with 52% combined. He ain't doing it because he doesn't want to do it. So the stories that are coming out again are a little bit like lazy journalism in my eyes. And then we talked about the fan advisory board, the meeting that happened a couple of weeks ago, and I was looking at some of the details. And the one thing that stuck out is the whole thing about director of football. It's in the minutes. We're going to go back to a director of football model. And then I said, look how we failed before with it, the likes of Steiden, Carl McCauley, etc. I know they weren't called directors of football, but Steiden was meant to be in charge of transfers, and how there was a conflict between him and David Moyes over transfer business. And then they both went. And then Sullivan took over as de facto director of football because he thinks if he doesn't do it, no one else can do it as well as him. Oh my God, the arrogance. But there you go. And now, so there's all the history of what's happened with directors of football. We've had another one, Mario Huselos with Pellegrini several years back. He was director of football. We've tried, but Sullivan doesn't allow it to sort of to see how it goes. You've got to give it a good, got to give it a while. You don't give it one transfer window and then go rubbish, you're out. It's not how it works. So there's all the history about directors of football. Now, Sullivan always wants to get involved, doesn't want to let go. And then you've got the whole issue with Nuno, because Nuno fell out with Marinakis because Marinakis brought someone in to manage transfers, and Nuno wasn't happy about that. He went public. He did a couple of interviews, to state quite clearly that he wasn't happy. So there was that thing in the fan advisory board meeting to talk about director of football. Other things about ticket prices, they're going to go up, etc. They talked about the women's team. They talked about governance. They talked about a number of things. One win, apparently, is that we're going to get rid of the wall. Apparently, that's coming down, but Perspex is going to go in its place. So let's see if that materializes. Then they talked about other things. Apparently they did a review of standing areas in the family area in the London Stadium, but none of that's going to happen. So, as I said, these are all the things that Hammers United have been pushing for, and it has become lip service, because they did a feasibility study on sitting, and the outcome really is, doesn't matter how you want to sugarcoat it, the outcome really is, because it's going to cost more money, because the seating is there, would cost a hell of a lot of money to replace. They ain't going to do it. Even if we got approval. I said earlier, a lot of football Premier League clubs are allowed. Premier League has said you can have standing areas. You can start installing standing areas. So there's none of this, so long as you do it right. Basically, the bottom line is West Ham United don't want to do it because it's going to cost them money. It will cost them money, not the stadium. It will cost West Ham money to change the seating setup. And they don't want to spend the money, people. It's as simple as that. So there's your catch up. Ronnie. Villa play on the break. He might play the two fastest central defenders to begin with, Todibo and Disasi. Well, which of the two are the fastest? Disasi isn't exactly fast. You got me confused there now, Ronnie. Brian, I think Paco is so good because he's the opposite of Nuno. Absolutely. What did Mark say about Paqueta left out of the Brazil squad? There you go. You wanted your move. You got your move. So there you go. Andy, just got up. It's 6:45 in the morning here in Australia. Well, good morning to you, mate. I hope it's nice and sunny over there. Ronnie, did get a Boreham Wood ticket. Did you? You did or didn't? Do you want one? Because message me if you do, because I've been offered quite a few. So if you want to go, let me know. But let me know ASAP. English Yardage. Stel, will Kante be playing for the under-21s? Oh, good question. I think not. Will Myers play in the under-21s tomorrow night? Would that be fair on the players that have got us to the final? Because Kante and Myers were involved in the early stages, but would that be fair? Do you know what? He's eligible. I think he's too important now. I think he's too important for the senior team, both him and Myers. If you looked at the bench on Saturday, Ollie Scars wasn't on the bench. Myers was. And Kante was. So I think probably not. I don't know. God, it's a good question. It's a good question. Yeah. I think not. Trudge, we should all open a new channel. Let me know. Where we can chat during academy games in another pop-up. Oh, I got you. Let me have a think about that, Trudge. I'll get back to you on that. Jenny, injuries aside, I genuinely think we're staying up, providing Nuno realizes that it's crap or bust time and tells players to go back. I think he is. Look, I said in the reflection show about the game on Saturday, I suggested that we've seen two types of West Ham teams who have been defensive minded in the past. There's the team that sit back and absorb pressure because that's the way they've been told to play. And then there are teams that are being pressed back because of how good the opposition is. Against Man City on Saturday, we were pressed back. They were so good with it. I've got to be honest, as a West Ham, I was sitting there and the way Man City passed the ball, they always found the extra player. They always found someone in space. The pass and move, pass and move, pass and move. It was slick. It was good. They created chances from it. Having possession of the ball and doing nothing with it is pointless. You might as well just go direct. But they always thought that they could get a chance, and they created chances. By hell, they created chances, and it was a bit nail-biting at times. But why have I got onto that? Because you made your comment there, going for it. Now, we didn't go for it on Saturday because we couldn't. We were pressed back. But I think Nuno has told him, I think every other game, apart from, it's going to be interesting to see what's going to happen against Arsenal and Villa. But I think we're going to go for those, to be honest with you. What else we got there? Darren, think Mads will get better the more games he plays. His confidence must be growing in recent weeks. Yeah, I hope so. It's his reach that worries me. It's his reach that worries me. Randy, still, do you think this will be the team for Villa? Hermansen, Diouf, Wan-Bissaka, Disasi, Mavropanos, Soucek, Fernandez, Summerville, if fit, Traore, left wing, Bowen, right wing, Tati, and Pablo. Not Traore. I think all the others that you mentioned, yes. You got, oh, right. Sorry. Summerville or Traore. No. I think if Summerville is not fit, then I think he's going to go with three at the back, and then get the wing back Diouf bombing forward. Let's scroll down. Andrew, City's goal was a fluke. He definitely meant to cross. Watch his eyes. He actually went over and said, "I meant it," but I don't know. I don't know. Who else have we got here? Darren, just wanted to say, Stel, love your vlog. Thank with Wiggy. Look forward to your Villa one, and please keep them. Absolutely will. He couldn't do it against the Man City because he had to leave just before the end in order to make sure he caught his train home. Avram Grant Slipper, I haven't seen you for a while. I hope you're well. Toddy and Mavro are our fastest defenders. Toddy and Mavro, yeah, yeah, fair play. Randy. Two of the key reasons Nuno left Forest was firstly the relationship with Edu. However, another main factor to Nuno was that he did not get him Traore at Forest, which let Nuno speaking out. I still don't rate Traore. I don't know what Nuno sees in him, but there is always one player for every manager that where manager becomes obsessed. You know, a manager, no matter how good or bad that player is, the manager will keep picking him. And Traore is kind of that for Nuno. But look, he's not getting, he's not starting games, Traore. So how much does Nuno really want to keep him? I don't know. I will look into it, Troj. If I'm not going to any, are you talking about the game? I'm going to the game tomorrow, but yeah. Otherwise, I will look into future under-21 games. Is tomorrow's game being televised on YouTube? Someone asked that earlier, and I don't know. Marcus said, yes, it is. I think it is. I hope it is. I hope you get to watch it. Really do. Who else have we got? I think that's it. Just feels like not playing Todibo is a waste. He seems on good form. Absolutely. Yeah, I agree. I wouldn't drop him. It would be very, very difficult to drop him. Right. I think that's it. Mark Traore came cheap when we have a weak bench. Not so bad. No, I don't think we do have a weak bench. And that's the honest truth, Mark. I don't think our bench is weak when you look at it, especially when you look at the way that Kante has now stepped up. You've got decent defenders now. You've got 3 centre-backs. If you only use 2, you've got a decent centre-back on the bench. You got. I think Ezra Myers, I think, is kind of jumping ahead of Ollie Scholes in terms of his defensive ability. I think he's pretty good. I think Kyle Walker-Peters is decent. You've got good midfielders in place, etc. And you've got options up front. You've got Callum Wilson on even at his age. You've got Callum Wilson as well. So, no, I think our bench is actually better than we think. As I said, I did a show a couple of weeks ago talking about a squad. Nuno kept talking about the squad rebalance. And I think he's got that. And I think he's got the right players in. And I think we've got decent options on the bench now as well. Randy, Troj, I would play Todibo next to Disasi, as Mavropanos played really well, but played a lot recently. Depends on Nuno and what he thinks his best centre-back partnership is. Please do give a like. And if you're new to the channel, please become a subscriber of the channel as well. English Yardie, is McGinn still out? I think he still is. But knowing our luck, he'll be there for the game against us on Sunday. Randy, Yardie, he was back for Villa on the back. He was back for Villa. There you go. Last 2 games. Not sure he was used or not. Right. That's it. I'm done. Thank you all for watching. Thank you all for listening. It's been quite a lively chat tonight, so appreciate it. I hope, it was interesting talking about the minutes of the Fab Advisory Board. I don't normally talk about things like that, but I thought it was quite relevant. I thought it was quite poignant to talk about the promises that the board are making. They make the same promises, and unfortunately, it has become lip service. No wonder Hammers United becoming frustrated with them, because you're not seeing a lot of delivery. You're seeing a lot of chat, a lot of sound bites, but not a lot of delivery. So, Crysencio Summerville could be back. We're apparently getting a director of football. We're going to stay up this season at the expense of Spurs. There you go. Thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. I hope you enjoyed it. Become a subscriber, and I will see you all very soon.